And then, Louise, then we move on, and it's not necessarily all excellent for Meghan this week with this comment from comedian Tim Dillon.
Since I'm a little kid, love con artists. I think they're great. I think they're fun. They're an important part of America and the tapestry of our country. They, to me, exude a kind of effortless humor. They're very funny. And I find her to be a great con artist, one of the great cons.
One of the greats.
Louise, it's harsh, no doubt. Sometimes I don't think Meghan necessarily helps herself.
Oh, of course she doesn't. I mean, this is a savage takedown. He really does skewer her hypocrisy, her whole mantra of female empowerment and tackling racial inequality. So other young women, when she was a young woman, she had to suffer all these things, and she doesn't want that pathway for anyone else. And he's saying, well, where's the evidence of this work? What's the change that she's made? How has she empowered these women? Oh, hang on a second. She's selling jam in Target, and she's living in probably the most privileged enclave, certainly in California, if not in the rest of the US. And he calls it one of the whitest neighbourhoods as well. So how does that fit in with her racial narrative? Who knows? But yeah, it was a very savage takedown. And of course, Meghan says one thing and does another. So she does not help herself. And this is what leads to these sort of comedians taking her on, quite happily.
And Pandora, Meghan's podcast has gotten off the ground. We've obviously talked about it ahead of it actually happening. Of course, unsurprisingly, like with most stuff that Meghan does, it has come in for some criticism. But what, in your view, what was the initial showing like? Do you think the criticism is warranted?
Yeah, look, I think I've been pretty open on my stance on this. I think if you're going to dip into Hollywood and do podcasts, or just like when we do commentary, ladies, you're going to have some people who agree with you and you're going to have some people who don't. And ultimately, that is just the way the media works. And her podcast, yes, albeit it was successful, i.e. whatever you take from the word success, it got lots of views, lots of listens, was very much up there. Didn't quite beat Mel Robbins this week, but was, I think, third place or something on Apple Music podcast. So yeah, good for her. She's doing well. But of course, lots of people want the juice and the tea from the royals. And lots of commentators have said, where is these secrets that we want to know about Meghan? She has got this deal because she is Meghan Markle. We want to know what's happening in her life, whether that not be so much about the royals, but what's happening behind the scenes for her. How is she making things work? Has she got any tips and tricks? But a lot of it is actually interviewing the podcastee who's on it, who, by the way, is brilliant. She's a Bumble founder. She's absolutely fantastic. But people aren't listen to her. They want stuff about Meghan. And lots of people are just saying, well, actually, was that really worth the listen? Because we haven't really found out anything about Meghan, really. So whether it's going to be a success moving forward for the rest of the series, I don't know. Because at the moment, we're not hearing anything new from Meghan's life, which people want to hear about. We're just hearing about female foundry success, which of course is very important. But that's not really why people listen to Meghan, unfortunately.
It is insatiable, the demand for those particular topics. Thank you so much, Pandora Forsyth and Louise Roberts.